Off by saying that anything mentioned in this masterclass, the Period Power Plays masterclass, is not to be taken as medical advice. Always check with a practitioner before beginning any new protocol. All right, so let's get started. Let me put myself right here. All right. So welcome. This is being recorded. This is the Period Power Plays Masterclass, how to make powerful moves during your period to take your business to the next level. I'm Jacqueline Renee. I'll be doing a quick introduction in a minute here. But let's be honest, that coming into a masterclass that is supposed to tie together your period and your business is a bit woo, right? But strap in, ladies. This class is going to give you a clear understanding of the physiological correlation between your brain and your body and what that means for your business and its results. So I'm so excited for you to be here. This masterclass, while free, is jam-packed with value. I am so excited to deliver this to you. You're going to learn some serious power plays to make the week of your period in your business. I am coming to you from the heaviest day of my period right now, and I am going to show you how I feel inspired, motivated, and embodied, like in what I'm about to teach you, even though it's supposed to be a day that's supposed to be like a gremlin little hell. That's what society has taught us, right? So I want to know though, tell me if you are resistant to the idea that true magic can happen the week of your period. So be honest about that. That's okay. This is probably because society and the picture that they've painted of what your period should look like has been drilled into our heads since the beginning of time, or that maybe men in your life have made you feel like a feeble hormonal mess during your period. So you're not alone in feeling this way. But by the end of today, you're going to see your period in a whole new light. You're going to finally unveil the powerful actions that can be taken 1 week a month that will take your business strategy to a whole other level. The problem I see all too often with female business owners is that they are chasing the next marketing strategy or sales tactic course. However, because they're ignoring their monthly cycle, it's leading them to feel overwhelmed or that they can't even show up to perform what they're learning in these sales courses. So in case you didn't know, your cycle is something that has complete influence over your energy, your stamina, your mood, and your communication. So if you're struggling to keep your head above water, this very much could be the reason why, that you're ignoring your cycle and it's not part of your business strategy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. More will come on this soon. So once you see the connections that are happening inside of your body, you're going to be a step ahead of your competition and any other female entrepreneur out there. This notion that our hormones and cycles are intertwined is still very fresh to this industry. So by being here, you're a pioneer. You're the first of its kind. I want you to give yourself a pat on your back simply for being here and stepping ahead of the crowd and being part of something that can sometimes seem a little bit taboo. So I am jam-packing this masterclass from start to finish. Feel free to take notes during this masterclass, but know that a replay will be sent within about 24 hours of this ending. So if you just want to be present, that's okay too. You make sure you stay until the end so you don't miss any knowledge. And we're going to go over the connection of your business and your cycle. This is what we're going to cover in the masterclass. The connection between your business and your cycle, what your period actually is, the common myths that need to be debunked around your period, superpowers of your period, and then the power plays of your period, the meat of this call, and then also tasks that I would personally avoid during the week of your period. I'll give you an example so you're crystal clear about what this could look like for you and your business. And then finally, there will be an exciting announcement that you won't want to miss that will tie the bow on all of this information. So if you're on here live, feel free to use the chat to ask some questions, or if there's any light bulb moments, I'll get to them at the end. And feel free, if you want to snap a photo, I'll pose for you really quick and feel free to tag me on Instagram. And I'd love to chat with you in the DMs about like what nuggets aligned with you most during this masterclass. So who is ready to get started? Let me make sure I don't need to let anyone else in before we get started. Oh, let me go back here. One moment, please. Wow, this is, no, we don't want that. We definitely don't want that. Can you tell like zoom? Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. So let's get started. So my name is Jack or Jacqueline, just not Jackie. That's a name I've been trying to run from since college. So call me Jack or Jacqueline. I want to tell you who the heck I am and why you should listen to what I have to say. You've probably found this masterclass on Instagram, so I'm pretty sure you have an idea of who I am, but I just want to kind of give you a background in case you don't know my full story. I'm a women's hormonal coach and business strategist, and my mission is to help women sync multiple aspects of their life to the phases of their cycle so that they can get major results in whatever their focus is on, but without the guilt or hustle struggle that we find ourselves in. I have 10 plus years in the online coaching and mentorship space. I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary of entrepreneurship this past July. And I've helped women. My past career was helping women get started on a health and fitness journey through at-home workouts and nutrition plans. I built a team of over 1,000 coaches and had a six-figure income. But let me tell you what, I was burnt the hell out. What I'm about to teach you in this masterclass is what I wish I knew back in the day, because I killed myself to make those first six figures. And I know that that's not necessary in order to achieve financial success now, knowing what I know. So I can't wait for you to know this information, because I know it's going to bring you extreme success with your business without the stress that we all went through in an era of our lives. So I wish that I knew more back then about how to work with your cycle instead of against it, so that my business model would have been more sustainable. I'm sure that you remember the girl boss era of 2016, where the hustle culture was strong. Sophia Amoroso was like a goddess to me, and it was so drilled into my head that the only feasible way to see success was to hustle and to kill myself. You know, I idolized Gary Vee. I think also our parents' generation just has always drilled in work hard, work, and save, and then like you'll see success. And that's just not the world that we're living in today, right? So when I moved from Pennsylvania out here to Wyoming, I was burnt the fuck out, and I just knew that I couldn't do this anymore. I didn't want a girl boss. I had a much slower pace of life. I just wanted to like enjoy life, but with that came losing my business because I couldn't sustain it anymore, because I didn't know the information that I'm about to teach you in this masterclass. And so hormone health and cycle syncing completely fell into my lap unexpectedly. I was dealing with some spotting and period symptoms that I was talking about with one of my best friends who's a doula. And she was like, you know, that's not normal, like to be experiencing this during your cycle. So she suggested a book for me to read, which was called Fix Your Period by Nicole Jarden, who she is now my teacher in my hormonal health certification that I am just one test away from finishing. But so I read that book and it completely blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. I can't believe how much I didn't know about my own body. And one thing to know about me is that once I find a topic that blows my mind, I go all in. I collect as much information as I can. It's part of who I am. It's even in my birth chart reading. I'm a collector of information, and my mission is to deliver this information to women in a really palatable way that is easy to take action on. I don't like doing overhauls on, you know, our lifestyles. I think there's a way to implement the information I'm about to teach you without feeling overwhelmed or stressed about it. So, the past 2 years, it's been my purpose to get the truth out to women about their cycle and how it influences literally every aspect of their life. And once you realize this, you're going to stop fucking struggling so much. I promise you. I want women to know that it isn't that their fault that they can't keep up. It's the walls that have been built up by society and the workplace and the health and fitness industry, whatever it may be, that have been setting us up to fail since the beginning of time. So, with my 10 years of experience in coaching in the online business space, I want you to know this: what you're about to learn, the power plays to make during the week of your period, it can truly change your entire outlook of the period, which I believe is a time we are made to feel like we were disabled in some way, shape, or form. Now, it's going to take time to rewire our brains and to look at our work and our business during our period from the standpoint. But I promise you, once you do, watch out. There will be next level results happening because of the work you do during this magical week. So, who's ready to get started? Leave a comment or give me a hell yeah. I'm going to take a sip of water. All right, let's get into it. All right, so embracing a new outlook to your business strategy. So, the concept of syncing your food or your fitness, and then especially now your business, is still very fresh in today's world, in the industry that we're in. Many women are still skeptical or don't buy into it for decades because for decades we have been taught that our period is something that is like completely separate from ourselves or our day-to-day lives. We've been taught that the period is something that's just painful or that we have to deal with. And this couldn't be further from the truth. Our hormones have a direct connection with our brain, our stress, and our mood. All things that I know that you, as a business owner, would agree are important to have in tip top shape when running a lucrative empire. We live in a world where schedules were brought up with only going along with a man's hormones and his cycle, which resets every 24 hours. And this is why us as female entrepreneurs can struggle and feel like it's impossible to get ahead. We are expected to expel the same amount of energy and productivity every day as a man does, and that's simply not how we were built at all. So I'm going to challenge you from this moment forward to look at your life and your business from a monthly perspective that matches your cycle. When you do this, you're going to see massive success without the debilitating stress. Major achievements can happen without killing yourself. And I love to use this example. Who here remembers the 2019 Women's World Cup champions? They have iconic pictures of them winning their tournament. They had like a month-long tournament where they were doing a lot of strenuous games, and they finally beat the Netherlands in their final game. And it was a huge thing, a huge deal. We were all, as Americans, like so proud of this group of women. And guess what they were doing in their training leading up to this tournament and during it? Yep, they were syncing to their cycle. They had posters in their locker room of each phase of the cycle and how to support it, or what I like to call the superpowers of each cycle and how to support it, so that they were living in alignment with their cycle and able to support one another, knowing which phase that they were in. Knowing all I know now, I am not surprised at all that living in alignment with their cycle led them to win the World Freaking Cup. Now, if a group of women band together and can do this in a sport, can you imagine what it can do for you in your business? It's going to be magic. So I really want you to take cycle syncing and aligning it with your business and the rest of your life seriously, because it is literally how we were made to operate. Let me just take a look at the chat here. Perfect. So I will warn you though. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. So again, I want you to take this seriously because it is something that is aligned with the way that we were built. Now, many business entrepreneurs, they often, especially women, we often think like if we're struggling, things aren't moving or progressing in the way that we want to, that we need another business course or a marketing strategy. And this couldn't be further from the truth. This syncing to your cycle and using this type of method in your business is the missing component to a business model. And it must be factored in because it has your body's design in mind. You'll be working smarter, not harder, giving you extra time to spend it however you like. I think that's every female entrepreneur's goal, is to have that flexibility and to have the ability to spend their time however they want, right? So you're still going to get everything that you need to done, but you're going to be doing it from a monthly standpoint instead of a day-to-day standpoint. So I'll warn you though, I got to be honest. I'll warn you, connecting your cycle to your business takes a bit of discipline in setting boundaries. And yes, I'm talking to you people pleasers. All right. If you are tired of being tired and burnt out, then you're going to have to do something radical to change things up. All right. And while matching your business to your cycle is radical, I promise that it's actually simple as fuck to do once you know how to do it, which is why I'm teaching this masterclass of how you can get started by doing this with your period. So to get started, we got to begin with the basics. And that is, what is the menstrual phase? So I'm not going to spend time going over all of the phases of the cycle in this masterclass. That's what my signature program, Feed Your Phase, or the Menstrual Mogul Method, does. But I created this masterclass around what power plays to make during your period, because while maybe you don't track your cycle or know where you are in it, I know you know when you have your period, right? And just to be clear, your period is the first day where you're actually bleeding red blood from your body, right? Not when you're spotting and leading up to your period. It's the first day of your actual bleed. And so, as I mentioned many times in the promotion of this masterclass, the week of your period is vastly overlooked in regards of what powerful things can happen when you use the time frame to your advantage. So let's get into it. Now, we're going to break this down to be simple as fuck, because I am a woman that when too much medical jargon or terminology gets thrown in my face, it's snooze for me. So I'm just giving you the very basics here so that we can go deep in this masterclass. So the menstrual cycle versus a menstrual phase or period. Let's talk about that. Your menstrual cycle is ideally about 28 days. And it begins the first day of your period and ends the last day before your next period. Your cycle includes the 4 phases, all that have their own individual superpowers and characteristics. It's really, really cool. Now, the menstrual phase, which is also known as your period, is usually 3 to 7 days. And during this phase, you're shedding, your endometrial lining is shedding, and your brain is signaling your body to get ready to start the cycle all over again. Now, metaphorically, you could visualize this shedding happening as like shedding your old self, your old habits, things you know that no longer serve you. And that's like a slide for another time. But I love that metaphor to think like in your period, you're shedding your old self and shit that no longer is benefiting you. And then real quickly, I want to touch on this phrase, the infradian rhythm. And you're going to hear this phrase a lot by working with me. You know the circadian rhythm. I'm sure you've heard of that term. And that is a 24-hour biological clock that both men and women have. And it resets after every 24 hours. For women, though, we have a second biological clock that stays with us from our first period as young girls to menopause. And it's called the infradian rhythm. It's tied to and resets with your 28-day cycle and has a major influence on your brain, your body, and your energy. So overlooking this secondary clock and your cycle as a whole, not only in your day-to-day life, but especially in your business, is like leaving money on the table. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be leaving any money on the table when it comes to my business and its success, right? Many women are trying to strategize their business tasks on a day to day basis or in alignment with the 24-hour bodily clock. And as you know now, that's not how we were created. We're fluctuating, cyclical creatures who are constantly changing. In the course of our cycle, our 28-day cycle, our brains are changing 25%. So our business tasks and how we approach it has to be taken into account to that, right? You can see how something that has so much influence over our energy and mindset must be brought into the business strategy. And I'll show you how to get started on that the week of your period. But first, I want to address some common myths and misconceptions in regards to Shark Week. Okay? I love it. You know me, I love a gift. I love a gift. So before we get into the meat of this masterclass, we first have to start with breaking down some serious walls that have been built around us women since we were even first introduced to the fact that we get a period, right? I don't know about you, but my period introduction was sitting in like my 5th grade gymnasium, getting a flimsy pamphlet, being told I was going to bleed for a week, and then my mom confirming that and telling me it was going to suck because it was just something that it was hereditary in our family. And I was like, great, that sounds awesome. So yeah, no wonder most of my life, when my period came up, I dreaded it and wished it away. However, today that couldn't be further from the truth. I know this will be the case for you too. All right. So consider this a funeral for all the BS you've been fed around your period. All right. I always think of this scene. The skiff is from the scene of the movie No Strings Attached with Natalie Portman and Ashton Kutcher. He goes over to her apartment where she and her roommates, they're all synced up and on their period, and they're in grungy sweats. They're crying. They're eating spoonfuls of ice cream and saying things like, "It's a crime scene in my pants." While I love some ice cream and sweats during my period, don't get me wrong. It's obvious that the media has been feeding us a certain narrative of how our period should look. It's time to debunk, bury, and say goodbye to these myths and instead shake up the narratives around what the week of your period should look like, especially for female entrepreneurs. Okay? Into it. All right, so these are some of the myths. Do you like my little RIP? I'm obsessed with that little RIP. Okay, so here are common myths and misconceptions we're going to bury and leave for good after this masterclass. Capiche? The first myth is that women are raging and hormonal during their period. So, contrary to thinking we are bursting at the seams with hormones during the week of our period, it's actually the time in our cycle where our hormones are the lowest. So, this may mean that our physical energy is on the lower side compared to the rest of our cycle. But however, the mental energy that we have during the week of our period is ramped up, and you can expel a lot of mental energy while you may feel some physical downshifts. So remember, our bodies don't have to be moving and clocking in hours sitting at a desk in order to be making powerful moves that move the needle in our business. All right. So that's myth and misconception number one. Number two is that periods are a time when women aren't capable of making rational decisions. Wrong. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. The way your brain's hemispheres are communicating the week of your period is unlike any other time in your cycle. The left side, which is your analytical and logical side, is speaking directly to the right side, which is heavily focused on emotion. So when this is occurring, you should be eavesdropping in on this conversation, listening in, just like you would with like a noisy neighbor who was in a fight, right? We're all like listening real close to hear what the drama is. Whatever you're hearing during the week of your period, you should be listening very, very closely to. Myth number three is that periods are meant to be painful and you should be like tied to a heating pad. Again, media and past generations have painted the picture of periods to be a horribly embarrassing moment in a woman's month. Now, I will say this is the caveat. If your periods are painful and you have to like cancel meetings, stay home from work, or feel like absolute trash during your period, something could be out of balance, and I'd love to help put you in the right direction of fixing that. So send me a DM if that is the case. This masterclass, ideally, you would be having periods that don't put a like ruin your day or ruin your week, whatever. It's not causing conflict in your life. All right. But let me be clear. So periods should be ideally pretty effortless. Our body, when hormones are in balance, are able to produce a special type of prostaglandin, which is something in your body that mitigates any painful cramps. Our hormones ideally should decrease in a reasonable way before our period. They should dip in a nice fashion, not a roller coaster fashion, which would mitigate mood swings or any PMS symptoms that you would be having before your period. When hormones are in balance, it means less disruption to our business and more focused efforts to the job at hand. Again, if this is something that you feel like you need more guidance in to have less painful periods, just send me a DM on Instagram and we'll talk about what we can do to help you. All right. Myth number 4, there is no need to have a period. So many medical professionals have led us to believe that it's not necessary to have a period. This is why the pill or hormonal birth control is being thrown at us left and right. And I get it. If you're a female entrepreneur, your business is your baby, maybe, you don't have time to deal with the potential of getting pregnant, right? Or having your period ruin your life once a month. But let me be clear, I'm not a birth control hater. I love the idea of it. I love the freedom that it can give a woman. What I don't love is the side effects that it's giving us and how doctors aren't giving the full picture before throwing a prescription at you. Our hormones have a direct phone line from our brain. Our hormones have a direct phone line with our brain. So when you're on birth control, no longer ovulating, thus no longer getting a period. So yes, if you're on hormonal birth control and taking the pill, that week that you're bleeding is a withdrawal bleed. You're not actually getting a period. That blew my mind when I learned that several years ago. So when you're taking the pill, that connection from your brain to your ovaries, that connection is cut. Communication is cut off. You have been ghosted when you're taking the pill. And our hormonal health is considered our 5th vital sign. So we are adding to our overall long-term health and setting us up for a sustainable business model every time we get our period. Our period truly is a gift and something that we should be excited to get each and every month because it is putting money into our health bank. So are you starting to see how our hormones have control over literally every part of our body, but also how it can connect to your business? So now we know we are not just hormonal bitches every week of the month. We are capable as fuck in making some baller moves in our business during our periods, and that periods are not meant to be painful. And we are understanding that periods are necessary in sustaining the bandwidth that we need in running our business. So now that we understand the lies that we've been fed since the beginning of time, I want you to commit to seeing your period in a different light moving forward. Let me know if you agree. All right, so now that we know that these are just myths and lies and misconceptions, we can get into the superpowers of the menstrual phase. All right. So what is a superpower? You've probably, if you've been following me for a while, you've probably heard me use this term a lot. And I just want to clarify what I mean by using it. So each phase of your cycle has characteristics or tendencies that you lean towards when you're in it. This is why there's times of the month where you're feeling creative as fuck and super social and your confidence is comparable to Beyonce. And then there's other moments during your period where energy is slower, but your brain fire is firing and your body is ready to restore. The problem is many women want to experience all the superpowers of every phase in one day, and that's just not how we're meant to look at it, right? That's not how we're meant to operate. So every phase of your cycle possesses different superpowers, making you a well-rounded baddie who gets shit done, but again, it's on a monthly basis, not a daily basis. When you lean into the superpowers, you're going to see shifts in your business, your energy, and your mindset happen. Okay. So let's touch on one of the superpowers to lean into during your period. Now, just because these are your superpowers during your period doesn't mean you have to do this and only this. You'll see in regards to syncing your cycle to your business and your lifestyle that things are fluid and flowy. It also matters what physical season you're in. Again, this is stuff I go deeper into in my courses, but the traits below will feel more effortless during the phase that you're in. And you'll be able to execute them in your business, which makes it optimal to build a schedule that includes these superpowers during this phase, the menstrual phase of your period or of your cycle. I'm sorry. So if anything feels too forced, though, like if there's business tasks that don't align with the superpowers of your cycle, that of the phase of your cycle that you're in, you can avoid them as much as possible. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur and having a lot of control over your schedule, right? So your superpowers in this phase are based again on the left and the right side of your brain being in a really tight knit conversation during this phase. This means that the side that is analytical is communicating with your emotional side. And in the next slide, I'll show you how to take advantage of these powers in your business. But let's get started. So superpower number one is analyzing. So it's important to take inventory of where you are in your business today, and the week of your period is the perfect time to do that. Networks that are important for analyzing in your brain are louder than ever during this phase compared to others. So be sure to take the time to reflect on how offers, social media, launches, and finances in the past have played out during the week of your period. Superpower number two is evaluating. Your intuition is palpable during the phase of your cycle, this phase of your cycle. Maybe you're getting like a gut feeling or reaction about a problem client and it's impossible to ignore. So during the week of your period, so you should listen and plan and take steps to take action. Case in point, I actually just let go of a client of mine this past week. I was getting that clear communication that I was being drained and that this client was no longer, I wasn't serving them and they weren't serving me. And I cut the cord. It was a gut feeling that I had for so long, but it took until like this week of my period to get crystal clear and I cut it, you know? So take a look at the past month or several months and evaluate what was worth your time and what you could do without. And then superpower number three is self-care and replenishing. So besides recapping the past month, it's time to rest. I know this is hard for women to do, especially if we are online scrolling on Instagram and we see other business owners showing up on social media, launching, selling, whatever it may be. But remember, they are probably not in the same phase of their cycle as you are. So there is no need to compare yourself. This is a topic I'm going deep into in my new program because I think comparing is such a crazy thing when us as women, as you know, are constantly changing from week to week in our cycle. So part of building a sustainable business that doesn't leave you burnt out is resting for a few days and making the rest of the week surrounding your period chill as fuck. The whole point of running your own business is having a flexible schedule, right? Set some serious boundaries and start to factor this concept into the week of your period. So I'd love to know, how are you feeling about these superpowers? Do you see yourself expressing any of them naturally already, or when you think back to like how you are during your period? Tell me in the comments. Okay, now that you know this information, you're going to become so much more aware of how they show up in your future menstrual phases. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this call. Let me just make sure. We'll stop sharing for 1 second. Okay. All right, let's get into the meat. How are we all doing? So now that you know the general superpowers and tendencies that come up with the menstrual phase, I want to give you examples of the power plays that will uplevel your business even while your energy is low. While some of these power plays may seem like simple or aren't directly correlated with the sexy things such as like high cash days or launching, you're going to see that they are the actions that will lead to those big income days. So it's just as important. You got to remember, we're looking at our business from a cyclical standpoint now, not just day to day. So let's get into them. So, a power play. Number one, take a day off and have some self care. I am starting these power plays off with a bang. You're probably like, Jack, I'm not going to like obtain anything from taking the day off. Well, I start with this because usually the first day of a woman's period is when they are experiencing the lowest amount of energy and really do need to rest and restore. All right. I know I don't have to repeat it, but slowing down for a day or two is what gives you the energy to ramp up post period. Bogging yourself down with work during your period drains you and creeps into the other phases of your cycle where energy could be high. So, not taking the time to rest during your period can totally affect the other parts of your cycle. I love to use the first day of my period to get a massage, to do some hair or nail pampering, or to simply lay on the couch like a slug and watch Netflix. All right. You can definitely find me later watching Life After the Altar on Netflix today after this masterclass. So one of the benefits of being your own boss is that you have this luxury to create your own schedule and to schedule a day off and to build a boundary around that first, especially that first few days of your period. I promise that this power play is one of the most powerful as far as the results it gives you in your business. I just want to give you a real quick example of how I went against this power play, against my own boundaries. So back in July, I it was my birthday month and I was really excited about being in a new mentorship with my mentor and to begin implementing all the fun things I was learning from her sales and marketing courses. And the week of my birthday, I was like, I'm going to do a birthday extravaganza. I'm going to just create 5 offers, offer them all. And like I thought it would be simple, number one, and it wasn't simple. It was a lot of like it took a lot of energy and showing up on social media. And it just so happened that I consulted with my cycle tracking app and that my birthday week was the week of my period. And I was like, but I really want to do this birthday extravaganza. So I went against my own boundary. And that was a mistake. Let me tell you how this trickled not only into that week, but the weeks after. I showed up and I had fun, but I wish I had more energy during that week, this birthday extravaganza week where I was offering something new to my audience each and every day. And but it made me really stressed. It stressed me out to wake up every day, to show up, to have all this energy to produce this extravaganza. And while it was a 3,000 sale or revenue launch, which was really great for me, what it didn't do is like set me up for success for the rest of my cycle. I ended up like having no energy in the phases of my cycle when I should have had real high energy. And then in August, I had one of the most painful periods in my life. And for 2 years, I have not had painful periods. I'm sitting here with a little blanket on my lap during the first day of like my heaviest day of the period of my period right now. And I'm chill, I'm fine. But in August, I had one of the most painful periods ever. And you're going to see by working with me that the stress connection to from your business to your physical cycle has an impact. So if you don't think that stress is making an impact on your day-to-day life and your cycle and your period pain, you're dead wrong. Thankfully, I'm fine now. I actually had to cancel a launch that I was thinking of doing in August because I was like, I need to recalibrate. I need to take time off. I need to slow down. It took me having to slow down for 4 weeks in order to speed up back to where I am now, where I'm back in complete synchronicity with my cycle and its phases. But that's an example of, by ignoring and not practicing self-care, and like, I'll get into things to avoid, obviously. I think I had the story written down for things to avoid, but I just wanted to go ahead and mention that now, that this does have an impact on your success long term. Okay. So, power play number 2 is to review your income. So many business owners review their books or incomes and sales from the previous month in the beginning of a new calendar month. I do it the week of my period. I personally love to save this task for the week of my period so that I'm able to reflect and analyze my progress each month and see which way my progress is going and set new goals for the upcoming cycle. So media content is another power play review. Sorry, not creating media content, but a media content review during my period is really, really crucial in reviewing my emails, posts, reels, TikToks, looking at them from the past month, checking those Instagram insights, your follower count, and nerding out and creating a report around what worked well and what performed maybe not so great. And obviously, we know that the Instagram algorithm has been like fucking shit right now, so take that into account too. I don't think we can rate the past few weeks as like something to rely on with Instagram. But I love to notate which topics in the content I created got the most engagement, so that when I'm in a phase of my cycle where I'm batch creating content, I know which topics I should focus on and which I can just kind of like throw to the side. This puts my time to the best use. This is a time saver. So this way I'm not trying to figure out like what's working, what's not. I analyzed my content, and now I know what to focus on and what's not going to deliver to my audience. Power play number 4 is a launch analysis. So ask yourself, did you launch in the past month, or did you have plans to launch after your period is over? This is a great time to take a look at past launches to reflect on what went well and what didn't. How long was the launch? Did it feel aligned while also being successful, or were you burnt out at the end of it in the way your sequence was? How many clients signed up? Where did they come from? Did you do a wait list? Did you do a pre-sale? Those are a few of the questions I ask myself. And yes, there is some method to launching that can align directly with your cycle, but I'll talk more about that towards the end of this call. Power play number 5 is a schedule review. So if you have a planner, or maybe if you just want to look at your Google Calendar, wherever you're scheduling your events or your meetings, this is a great time to review it and kind of see how much was on your plate last month. Did that feel doable, or was it draining? Would it feel optimal to like rearrange this to the different phases of your cycle so that if it was draining, it could feel less draining? Were there two, how can you make your schedule more aligned with your cycle and its ebb and flow of your energy? Take a look, reevaluate, cut what's not working anymore, honey. All right, and then power play number 6 is client and team evaluation. So I love to use my brain power during this phase to analyze if the people I'm surrounding myself with are bringing me joy or draining me. I told you the story of how I had to let go of a client because it was draining me. It was no longer serving me or the other person. And I knew it needed to be done for a really long time. But again, it took the clarity that I get during my period to be like, okay, this isn't just like something that's coming and going. It's a gut feeling. I know that this isn't right anymore. So apply this to your business. Maybe, for instance, you're a salon owner or a stylist, and you have a client that comes in each appointment and just like dumps negativity on you, or is like so picky about what they want done with their hair that like it gives you stress and anxiety. Or maybe you are a coach and you have a client that is what I like to call an asshole, meaning that they ask you all sorts of questions and never implement any of the information you give them, and then they complain when they lack results. Time to cut it off, honey. Time to get the scissors, cut it out during this phase, all right? And then the seventh power play, which is one of my favorite ones, is to manifest and reflect. So, as a business owner or a woman in a high level position, you already know the importance of being like crystal clear about what you want and the goals you want to reach. Your period is a perfect time to reflect why. Why do you want these goals? Are they for the right reason? Once you gain clarity on what you want to achieve, the impact you will leave, any income goals, etc., it's time to manifest it. So take this time to journal, to create affirmations to recite throughout the next month, or to create affirmations that you can recite throughout the next month based on these goals that you're setting during the week of your period. If you have a vision board, you can build one, or you can fine tune the one that you already have. Write down your goals and intentions so that when you're in the planning phase of your cycle, which is a different phase, you're able to factor them into your calendar and your daily tasks. All right, how is this landing for you? The power plays of your period. Does it feel doable to focus on these power plays during this week, or could you see this being a struggle, like that you'll really have to set some boundaries around? The week of your period isn't meant to be like the rest of your cycle where it's high sales, high energy, like right at the forefront. This is the week, as a business owner, that in order to like have a running sustainable business, that evaluating where you're spending your time and your energy is just as important as launching and selling. Um, I get it. These power plays, again, they're not like the sexiest things, such as high cash weeks, but I promise the slowing down during this week and turning inward is what will bring you to those successful launches with high energy and pizzazz. All right. Okay. So shit that drains you. Now we know that the moves to make during your period, about the moves to make during your period, I want to briefly touch on things that I personally would avoid. I understand there will be times that avoiding will be impossible. Sometimes we have to compromise with other people's schedules in order to make something work. And so, like I said in the beginning of this call, once you begin knowing about all the phases of the cycle and how they ebb and flow, it's not going to be so black and white, and it doesn't have to be rigid or structured. But again, the power plays are what feel more effortless to do during your period. So that's what I really want you to lean into. So, my trade off for you, though, is that every time you have to make a compromise over something that feels forced during your period, such as selling or having a meeting, a presentation, that you are scheduling in an act of self care as like a trade off. Okay. So, for instance, if there is half a day of long meetings, then I want you to schedule a massage for that night, or some type of pampering appointment, or something you love to do at home by yourself, whatever that may be. You get the picture. But here are the top things I would avoid during the week of my period: networking, events, and travel. So travel does a huge number on your hormones in general, but it definitely creates some stress on your body, and that's something you want to avoid during the week of your period. I remember in my network marketing days how draining like these conferences would be, and it wasn't only because I was an introvert, but it would throw my period off track. And if I had my period during some of those conferences, which I definitely did, I would come back wrecked from those events. And again, we now know how throwing off like the week of your period and not putting some boundaries around it can trickle into the rest of your cycle, right? So I know we can't control when these events take place, but whenever possible, plan around going to these events around your period. And hey, maybe you're looking for the perfect excuse to opt out of an event and you don't want to go. I am handing you a permission slip to use this as your excuse, okay? Another thing I would avoid is batch creating content. I can't tell you how many social media strategists I see speak about batch creating content. And I'm for that. I am not for the schedule that they are talking about, though. I love the concept about making a bunch of reels or TikToks in order to have stuff ready to go and to just click post. But your period is not the phase to create it all. Making a reel here or there isn't going to, completely deplete you. But trying to batch create a bunch of shit the whole week is a no-no for me. In the Menstrual Mogul method, I go over in depth how a content strategy that matches the phases of your cycle so that it feels effortless and not so forced. But in general, just do not force yourself to create a bunch of content the week of your period. Another thing I would avoid is launching. I just told you that story about how doing a week long extravaganza really left a lasting effect, not only that week, but the next cycle. So if you don't know, what you're doing during this cycle affects your next cycle. So if you're traveling, not eating great, not taking care of yourself, not putting up some boundaries during this cycle, it very well will affect your future cycle. Okay? Moral of the story, do not put yourself in a high energy launch during the week of your period. Learn from my mistakes, please. I am in the middle of a launch right now where the only task I have is this masterclass. And you best believe that I have nothing planned for the rest of the day or afternoon after this. I told you I'm going to be horizontal watching Love After the Altar on Netflix, okay? And that is very intentional that I plan that this way. And then the last thing I would avoid, if you can, is a presentation, whether that's doing a podcast interview, speaking on stage, or like just where you're super social. Even though I'm doing a master class right now, I'm not being that social. If anything, it kind of, for me right now, looks like I'm talking to myself. So, but when it involves like talking back and forth to a person, I just like to avoid it because I just don't have the bandwidth. So these things are definitely not things you have to avoid your whole cycle. Just during this phase, I would avoid it and save it for a different phase where communication and your energy is a bit better. So now that we know the superpowers, what to do, what not to do, I want to give you an actual example of what this looks like. All right, so here's an example of a work schedule to use during your period. Obviously, periods fluctuate day to day. I just did 5 days because that's kind of in the middle of the 3 to 7 day range that most women have their period. So I want to give you a real life example of what this looks like. I'd like to notate that the first day of your period, again, is when you're bleeding, not you're spotting or anything loosey goosey or brown, right? It's when you're actually like bleeding the first day of your period. Okay. So day one, I love to do a self-care CEO day again. Schedule a massage, get your nails done or your hair done, take a walk in a special place, get outside. I love to also like make a favorite meal and Netflix and chill alone. I'll kick my husband and dogs out of the house or come to my mom's house where no one is, and or to simply like you could read a book in the bathtub or in bed that has nothing to do with business. Like really giving your brain, I think, especially with being online and being women, like we just are always trying to see what everyone's up to. Let's just like cut off that communication for a day so that we can give ourselves a moment to breathe and create the space that we need in order to perform at the other levels that we want to during the other parts of our cycle. Day two, I love to do a review day. So take a look at finances and social media from the past month. Make a spreadsheet on how each category performed, what needs more focus, and seeing if there's any correlation between what performed well versus what didn't. Again, this is a time saver. So this is a day to make the connections of what your audience is loving versus what needs to be let go. And this will save you time in the future. Day three, I would focus on goals and manifestation. So you could revisit an old vision board that you made in the beginning of the year. Ask yourself, like, does this still align with my mission? Like, is this still what I want? Fine tune some of your goals to match where you are in your business today and where you want to be in the future. Journal out all of your feelings so that you can revisit them next month during your period when things are clear as fuck and see if it still rings true. Like, your period week is the week to really check in, and every month you're going to be like, was that aligned? Is this what I want? And like, it's the perfect time to just get that clear message, where other times of the cycle, your energy might be so high, it like convolutes all of that clarity in your mind. Okay. Day four would be a launch review. So knowing what I want to or knowing that I want to build out a launch calendar in the next phase of my cycle, I would review what went well in the last launch so that I can make a calendar that adapts with my cycle and also know what worked well versus what didn't. And then you can make decisions like determining if a wait list made sense or if it dragged out the launch or if you want to do a pre sale or if you just want to go straight into selling, whatever it may be. This is a great day to do that. And then on day 5, I would review your schedule. So towards the end of your period, you're going to see your energy kind of like spike up a bit. Get back to where you're like, okay, I feel like I got some jazz behind behind my body. And like I feel like I'm able to like breathe and like show up again, right? So as my energy is coming up, I look at the calendar from the last month and mark red anything that mentally or physically drained me or that I absolutely dreaded. And if I can get away with not having that be part of my business, then it gets the chop. Like I told you, I cut the client. I've cut a lot of other stuff. I'm kind of a boundaries queen. I don't like to like the whole point of having a business is doing something that you can enjoy. And so I truly believe in setting boundaries around that. So if it's something that is necessary though, that like I need to have in my business, a meeting I have to have, I will schedule it, try to schedule it during a phase where its superpowers are more aligned with whatever task or meeting it is. So again, this is living in alignment beyond just the period, the week of my period. I'm scheduling meetings during a time in my phases where like the energy is high and I'm more amped and ready to lean into whatever that meeting is. Okay, so how are we feeling? That's a lot of the bulk of this masterclass, but this is only the beginning. I know this is a new concept that takes a new style of thinking, but like I mentioned in the beginning of this call, you are a pioneer in this movement, honey. All right, knowing this information now, you can't go back. You can't go back to how things were, how you were forcing meetings and social media content when your brain and your body just aren't thriving in that department during the week of your period. But you also know now that that's okay, right? However, what you learned in this masterclass is just one piece of your cyclical puzzle. As a menstruating woman, you have 3 other phases with their own superpowers and power plays to lean into. I know that by watching this masterclass, you found a ridiculous amount of value, and knowing that it will take your business to knowing that this information can take your business to the next level with just one phase of your cycle, I want you to imagine what it could do if you incorporated all 4 phases of your cycle into your business strategy. And I want you to listen up because I got something for you. But let me say this, and I want you to listen loud and clear. You do not need another sales course or marketing strategy. Those tactics won't work if your body and hormones are burnt the fuck out and you're struggling to show up to even implement it. You'll only continue to find yourself going against the current and fighting to keep your head above water. Instead, it's time to apply a method to your cycle that is exclusive to menstruating women, no one else. It's a method that will produce you more success, but without the stress because it's taking your cyclical nature into account. Introducing the Menstrual Mogul Method. Let me move my little head here so you can see it. So this is the business strategy, as I said, exclusive to women that will bring her to the next level of success, but without the stress. And let me tell you something. I can honestly say that no other business mentor out there is teaching anything like this the way I am. And that's why I'm excited to offer you the opportunity to be the part of the first cohort of women to experience the magic that is the Menstrual Mogul Method. So this is an 8-week self-paced course, which begins October 3rd. And this is exactly what is missing from your current business strategy. When something has so much influence over our creativity, our energy, our communication, and our productivity like our cycle does, you now know that. How can that not be factored in to your business blueprint? So tell me what it would mean for you if you no longer equated your level of productivity each and every day to your worth. You're not laying your head down at night and basing how great your day was based on how much you got done. Tell me what it would mean if you were able to remove guilt around what you did or didn't do on the regular. If you could be consistent as fuck with tasks that involve your business, that you stopped feeling so busy and felt more in control of your schedule, and if you could achieve more success than you ever imagined but without the stress. So you can have all of this and more with the Menstrual Mogul method. Plus, because you joined this masterclass, you're going to get it at a highly discounted rate, honey. So listen up. Just to give you some more details about it. So modules will include, but are not limited to cycle tracking 101. So I will teach you how to find out where you are in your cycle so you know which phase you're in, and therefore can lean in to the phase and its superpowers and its power plays as well. You'll learn in depth about the 4 phases of the cycle and their superpowers. Again, so what you learned today is only 1/4 of the puzzle. All right. You will learn about the Menstrual Mogul method, the actual method of putting this into practice with your launch and with your content calendar. I will go over how to create offers in alignment with the different phases of your cycle, how to do email marketing in alignment with the phases of your cycle, content creating. There's a whole freaking section about self-care being a menstrual mogul, because as you know, our business is just one component of our life. And when we take our cycle into account with all the other components, you're going to see like some serious alignment and transformation happen. And then also the menstrual mogul mindset. It's a complete mindset where you have to set a lot of boundaries. You have to have a radical way of thinking. You have to not be scared to be doing something different than what a lot of your peers are doing, but that will bring you higher level success than what they're experiencing, because you're taking your physical body, your anatomy into account, into your business strategy. That is something not many, if any, women are doing. And I'm happy to lead the pack in this new, like, maverick way of thinking. All right. And how we're approaching our business. There will also be live calls and hot seat coaching so that I can help coach you through your unique business model during our 8 weeks together. So that's pretty freaking amazing, right? So I know just by going through this masterclass, you're probably like, wow, that's going to be ridiculous. So here's the deal. The doors to the Menstrual Mogul method officially open up to the public tomorrow and will be offered at $997. But because you made it all the way to the end of this masterclass, which means I know you are serious about seeing some major results in your business by applying this method, I will give you a discount of $200, which brings it to only $797. And there are payment plans available when you visit the sales page. So you can take advantage of this offer and find out more by going to this website here, menstrualmogul.com. Or if you want to have a deeper conversation to see if this program or another offer of mine is for you, slide into my DMs ASAP. But this offer of $200 off does end Tuesday night. The site will be down after that. So I wouldn't sit on it too long. If you're having the gut feeling like this is what's missing, this is what I've needed, this is it, then I would not sit on the idea too long, honey. All right. This is the method that will take you through decades until you hit menopause. This is something that can be tweaked, fine-tuned, and it's going to leave a radical impact on not only your business, but yourself. So I want to thank you so much for joining. Again, if you have any questions in any area around hormonal health, I definitely want to make sure we chat so that I'm pointing you in the right direction and I'm leading you to an offer that definitely serves you. And I just want to thank you so much. I am so proud of this masterclass because I truly think that even though it's only 1/4 of the puzzle, it's a fucking powerful piece of the puzzle. I hope that by watching this, you now know that Your period is not something to be ashamed of or to downplay or to act like a feeble gremlin in. It's a very powerful phase of your cycle where magic can truly happen if you lean into the superpowers and the power plays that come with it. So feel free to tag me on Instagram, tell me what resonated most with you, and thank you so much for joining. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon.